Hey, everybody, welcome back to Advanced Kayak Angler podcast. Appreciate y'all listening in. Kurt, what's up, dude? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, man. How you doing?
Good. I finally got out fishing. I'm started doing some research for the Hobie event. I'm going to fish the one down on Harris Chain. I'm going to mix it up, like my schedule, talk to the wife. I'm going to do 2 bass and 2 Hobies. I was going to try to do all bass, but I want to have fun, and I just can't let Harris Chain pass. Like, I love that place so much. I went there once in college, and I want to go back. So now I'm watching everybody's YouTube stuff on, doing all the research for it. So now I'm in research mode. I'm ready. How about you, man?
I'm getting ready for the Harris chain too. I'm like 90% sure I'm going. I haven't pulled the trigger on the entry fee yet, but I'm excited about it too, man. It's a special place down there, it really is.
Yeah,
I mean, the amount of big bass that could be had is just it's really hard. I've only been down there once, you know what I mean? So it's really hard to explain to people who haven't been down there like the potential it has.
yeah. And it's really cool because there's so many different lakes. You can kind of fish your own style. I mean, it's still Florida, but if you want to go offshore a little bit, like it should still be. I mean, there's always fish and all. They'll be in all different phases, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but or mostly pre-spawn, spawn. Who knows on the waves and the weather? Florida's always crazy, but you can fish offshore. You can fish grass. You can fish super shallow. You can fish whatever. So it's yeah, really, really, really fun place. And like you said, a lot of big fish. So
There's something for everyone. I mean, if you want to fish rock, if you want to fish weed beds,
yeah,
they've got it all really down there. They got structure in places. Yeah, it's going to be
and,
interesting too. Just like you said, the spawn and where we're at in the cycle of the spawn down there is going to be very interesting.
yeah. And I think last time I took 175 to get a check, and Ewing blew it out with like 200 inches. So it's got them too. So it's if you've never fished there and you're thinking about like bucket list type places, Harris Chain's one of them events you definitely want to
200
sign up
inches,
for.
with 100 inches each day. That's just
Yeah. One day he had
that's
like
not good.
108.
That's big fish. That's big
Yeah.
fish territory,
Yeah, I
which
was
will
watching
play
some
right
videos.
into our podcast today, right?
Yeah, that's right. So today we're going to be talking about swim baits and specifically like mag draft style swim baits. Today, 6 inch launched the Hangover, Ben Milliken's new 6 inch, 6 and a quarter inch slow, fast, and medium sink baits. So kind of in the vein of that, wanted to talk about that 5 to 6, 7 inch soft swim bait. And people like Russ Snyder's have done cashed a whole lot of checks. The guys we're going to have on don't have. It's just a really popular profile. I know something specifically. I've bought a lot of them, but I haven't had a lot of success, especially tournament wise. I just don't throw them enough. I don't have the confidence to do it. So we want to have the show to, it's something I know I'd like to integrate more into the things I throw.
Yeah, I'm excited about it because I really don't throw mag drafts or anything like that. I mean, I throw big swim baits, but that's up to like 8 inches of a regular swim bait, not like a mag draft, not any of these specialized ones. No, I'm excited to
Yeah.
learn more about it because it's something like you said. Rush has done extremely well. Other people have done really well. It could be a really good bait to get your kicker per se, right, for your bag.
Yeah.
I'm excited just to learn something,
Yeah.
something different, which I love about fishing, right? I'm always learning. We're always evolving as anglers, This is
That's
going
right.
to be a good one. This is going to be a good
Yeah.
one.
Well, let's do it. Let's go ahead and bring them on in alphabetical order. Kyler Branaum, Mark Edwards, and Spencer Miller. What's up, guys?
How's it
Not
going?
much.
We appreciate y'all being on, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, somewhere we're in between. So happy both of them, or
Merry
whatever you
Christmas.
celebrate. I don't know. I
Right.
don't want
Yeah. Whatever you celebrate.
to. I don't know
Love it
nowadays.
all.
Yeah. All right. So Kyler, we've had you and Mark on before. But Spencer is first time we've had you on. You live here in my area. You've whooped me plenty here, and tell everybody who you are, man.
So I'm Spencer Miller. I fish
primarily local stuff here in North Alabama, Central Alabama. Uh, live in Decatur, Alabama. I'm probably 10 minutes from Wheeler Lake, 40 minutes from Gunnersville, 40 minutes from Wilson and Pickwick, 40 minutes from Smith Lake. So I'm kind of
I
right in
wish
the
I lived
center of
there.
all the TVA stuff and one of the best spotted bass lakes in the nation. So,
That's right. And you've done, I mean, you've done well like KBF. I know you cash check, and
yep.
you've done well in other stuff too.
Yeah, I fished some boat tournaments too. Me and my boat partner have cashed some checks on Smith and some, one was a 288 boat tournament. We got seventh. We, you know, cashed another check in Bass Fest this past year, 250 boats. I think we were 28th or something. And that was swim bait fish. So,
Heck yeah. So the reason we have all y'all on is because you're definitely familiar with this type of bait. Um, I'm not sure where to start. I guess Kyler, we'll start with you. What type of setup are you going to use for this? Is this something crazy like it needs to have its own thing, or are you using a jig rod, or what?
Uh, buddy, I have three separate rods for three separate occasions, and all of them are set up differently. So I got when I got the swim bait bug, it bit me, and I got extremely addicted to it. So like I invested a whole lot of money into my swim bait rods. I actually have a custom made big bait rod that I had made. Uh, yeah, Little Miami Outfitters made me a custom rod with it's a light saltwater blank. It's all carbon fiber, so like I can feel those bites, and it's a phenomenal rod. And but yeah, I've got three separate rods. I run about a 7 footer for like a 6 inch mag draft or 6 inch swim bait because the first time that I ever started really getting into swim baits or fishing in general was I was flipping and pitching jigs. Like that was the very first thing I started fishing with. And so I incorporate that into everything that I do, whether it's spinner baits or swim baits. I like to throw around a lot of heavy cover. So I want a shorter rod for that, but still has plenty of backbone. Then I have like a 7'6" destroyer that's rated up to 3 ounces, but it's really softer, which I really like for like bombing one out there and just kind of retrieving it back. And then for those bigger 8 inch, 8 to 10 inch, I have the custom made rod. So all different scenarios. It's hard for me to choose which one I'm bringing with me. I usually bring all three with me just in case I need to adjust. So,
And
but yeah,
line, is it like 20, 25?
so actually for my 6 inch mag drafts and or 6 inch swim baits, I use 16-pound fluoro. I'll
Okay.
go up to 18 if I'm around like wood or something, but if I'm like around rock, like I'm not really kind of dragging it on the bottom. I'm fishing pretty shallow, so like it's okay for me to use a 16 to 18 pound for the 6 inch. But when it gets up to like the 8 inch ones and I'm using a beast hook, yeah, I like that 20 pound to 25 pound fluoro. Usually I'm using Seaguar Tatsu, the 20 or 25, kind of depending on the situation.
Are you running straight fluoro or are you running?
Yeah, straight fluoro. The only rods that I ever have a braid to fluoro leader is my spinning setup. I usually run all fluoro all the time.
Gotcha. Mark,
Yeah.
how about you, man?
Well, the rod I use mostly for like the mag draft, 6 inch, is actually an old carrot stick. That tells you how old I've had
Oh,
that.
that's one I like it.
But it's more like a flipping stick. Their line, it's a 7.6 extra fast, I think, tip. But I don't know. It seems like it bends more in the middle than actually like a jig pole. I mean, I really like it for throwing it. I don't seem to lose fish much with it. And then just my regular old flipping stick, I throw baits on it sometimes with just at 20-pound fluoro. And then on my carrot stick rod, I actually got braid on it, and I tie a 20-pound leader. And that's what I've caught the last couple years. It's all been on that carrot stick. But I've done really well with smallmouth on a 6 inch mag draft too.
Hmm.
But I prefer the freestyle over the actual mag draft.
Really,
Yeah,
Huh.
I hate the mag draft. I don't even throw
dude,
the
I
regular.
love the new. I love the regular mag draft. I hate the freestyle. Like it just.
That's odd. Well, see, the mag draft, you got to reel it at a certain speed. You got to get it at that certain speed, and that's all you can do with it. The freestyle, I can change weights and speed it up, slow it down, and then this one right here is actually I caught my. This is the same one I caught my big fish on the Susky with, but yeah, I got a spinner on it, so it's more traction, I guess, to it. But this one, most of the time, I use this Trocar with a quarter. It's a quarter-ounce lead weight on it. But
So you're throwing these in the river too, then obviously you're saying the Susky.
oh, you wouldn't, yeah. I've caught 3 fish over 20 inches, 3 smallmouth over 20 inches the last 2 years on just the mag draft. So, and they're all during the tournament too. So.
Dang.
Yeah, one was at Pickwick. I caught a 21 and a 20 3/4.
Mm.
Smallmouth.
Yeah.
Wow.
See,
All right, Spencer, how about you, man? Before we wait, because I've got so many questions, I'll start going down a rabbit hole.
So Dobbins 764 is my primary rod. It's kind of like a Carolina rigging rod or light flipping stick. I've got a Dobbins Caden, so that's Dobbins Champion 764. Dobbins Caden 750, no 745. So 7'4" 5 power jig rod is what I use in creeks, and then for the 8-inch baits, I'll use a 794 swim bait rod, just the Fury, the cheap, $100 swim bait rod. 20-pound fluoro on the 2 lighter setups, and then 25-pound mono on the heavy setup. So
Why mono? Just for the stretch?
for the stretch, castability, I was running braid to leader for a while, didn't like it, broke a leader knot, had some problems. I for this kind of fishing, I like a lot of stretch. My fluoro I use is Red Label. I feel like it's got a little more stretch in it than the higher dollar stuff. I feel like when I get a big fish jumping, I'm not really using a rod that's made for treble hooks. So when I get a big fish that jumps, uh, I don't want the slacken the line. So I hope that stretch gives me a little bit of some play. That's kind of the idea. I don't know how it works out, but I land most of my fish. So
Please
do
tell me it's
you?
like the Cajun red line.
Oh yeah, I love that stuff. Do you find that you get a lot of memory in your mono? Like you have to change it out often. I know mono is really cheap, so like, but it's just
yeah,
I'm out.
yeah. I mean, I buy it like 1,000-yard spool for $12 or something, and
Big
I
game.
probably change it.
Yeah.
I think I've got some big game, and I've got some
Strand.
Bass Pro Shop brand. I've used that stuff since I was a kid, so that's
Yeah.
kind of a go-to for me.
I
My
still
dad
use a
used,
lot of mono.
yeah. My dad worked for DuPont, so DuPont Strand was always used at my house. All right, so baits. I mean, this is, I don't even know where to start. I guess first we'll start with the freestyle since you were talking about that, Mark. My big problem with the freestyle, or like I've used the Beast Coast Miyagi, and I use those same, the Trocar, the owner Beast Flashy Swimmer. It seems like the hookup ratio sucks on it, and that's always been my problem. Is I want to throw baits that I feel like have a high degree of hookup ratio, except for some baits you can't, like a frog. But there's nothing you can do to mitigate hookup ratio with that. But how are you getting hooked up with these baits?
Every time I've caught one, they've swallowed it. I mean, I don't lose very many on it. I don't know
Is
what
it
the.
your hook set, or is it like a sweep hook set, a
No, I
jig
think
hook
it's
set?
timing deal. I think you got to be throwing it at the right time when they're actually eating. And it's been in the fall. The fall time of year they get on the feed. I think that's a big key to it too. I mean, I'm not throwing it in the springtime around smallmouth. No, largemouth I would be. When the fish get shallow around the spawn time of year, man, that's you throw it. You'd be surprised, but I don't lose that many, and you don't want to throw it on a bright, sunny, no wind day. I mean, you want to throw it on a windy day, sort of like a spinnerbait. I think that's a key too.
So are you like pausing like with a frog, you're retrieving it and you're supposed to wait to feel the weight? Or are you setting the hook as soon as you feel them on there? Or is there a different technique you're using when
Most
you
of
know
the time, I
you're
see them eat it.
you see them eat it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like the smallmouth in the river, I hadn't, but all the largemouth, I'm throwing it around lay downs and stuff. And the freestyle, I can throw it over a lay down and bring it over limbs and stuff. And a lot of times the bass will be sitting in the tree, like suspended, and they just nail it.
So you really are using it like in place of a spinnerbait then.
Yeah, and it just
So
gets
when
bigger bites. Yeah.
so that's whenever you throw it, whenever you're looking for a bigger bite over a spinnerbait.
Well, the really 2 years ago, we was in a club tournament local, and I won. I won on that lake before 75 inches. I hate it. That lake sucks. And you just got to get a limit. I was praying for a limit, and at like 9 o'clock, 9:30, I got a limit, and I had 73 inches, and I was tickled. I was glad to get a limit, and I knew I'd probably place just by getting a limit. That's how bad this place is.
Hmm.
And the fish were just moving up on bed. Like I caught them all. I caught them on a jerk bait, a underspin, Cinco. I mean, I was catching them a little bit off of everything. And I was going up the bank past a competitor. He said, "There's one on a bed up there. I can't get it to bite." And I went up there, and it was there, and it was easy. I was like 3 casts with actually a dark sleeper, a little bitty swim bait, and it ate it, and it was 18 inches. So it culled out a small fish, and I was close to 80 inches. So I kind of thought I probably got this tournament. I mean, you're kind of hoping, but now what can I do the rest of the day? The wind picked up, and I just seen my mag draft, and I said, and this lake is like controlled by the DNR like quite a bit. It's a 500-acre lake. It's unlimited horsepower for bass boats, which is insane. But there's not gizzard shad, I don't think, in there. And they've stocked it with trout, muskie, walleye. It's really deep. It's clear. And I decided to throw this mag draft, and like third cast, I catch another 18 incher. And in the next hour and a half, I put up 80 some inches of just off the mag draft.
Hmm.
And it was just insane. And I mean, I can't remember. I mean, I won by a whole lot. But everybody was leaving. The wind got up real bad, so everybody was heading back, and the fish were just. It was every lay down I come to, I had one at least follow it or eat it, and every time they ate it, they had it deep.
So is big forage a part of it?
No, I don't
Yeah.
think there's big forage in there. But a fish is a predator. I mean, I think we try to match the hatch too much, and maybe where the fish had never seen a bait that big. I mean, it's 6-inch mag draft, but I don't think a lot of people probably threw it there.
No.
I mean, not
You
that I
think
know
maybe
of. Or
matching the trout maybe a little bit?
the trout they put in there was like gigantic, like brooders. I mean, like 3-pounders.
Hmm.
So I don't think.
I'm
So
sure
in that
there's bluegill
situation,
or something in there.
And I
I
just
don't
throw
know.
one collar, just the albinos, only collar I throw.
That's that rainbow trout. I mean, it looks pretty dang good coming through the water. I throw that one down on Cedar quite a bit because they used to stock rainbow trout down on Cedar Creek Lake here in Kentucky.
That's the MB gizzard, which I don't know why, but it looks kind of trout like. It's got a
Hmm.
pink line in it, and I've just whacked them. I mean, I've whacked them in lakes that have never seen a trout, and it works.
So do all you guys have that same experience of going to a lake that doesn't have big prey, big gizzard shad or some other type of big prey for the fish to eat, and throwing these and having success? Is that what I'm hearing?
I
Yeah.
mean,
It
I
doesn't matter, I don't think.
don't know of a lake down here that doesn't have them. Like even our small lakes, you've got good sized bluegill. I believe the bass eat other bass. I mean, it happens.
Yes.
They eat crappie. There's always something in there big that they're eating. Now, specifically when I'm in a creek, if I start seeing like 6 to 12-inch gizzard shad, or like on Smith Lake, blueback herring, or kind of more Tennessee River, there's I don't know so much about down south, but Tennessee River, there's red horse suckers that they go anywhere from 6 inches to 2.5 feet. If I start seeing those, I know, hey, there's something big in here they're eating. That's when I start really throwing not just these baits, but just big baits in general. If I start seeing those in a creek specifically, or river.
I mean, I think, like, in my experience, there's been a lot of situations where I've been in some lakes where there's a lot of small lakes here in Kentucky that don't that haven't had large shad, or really, I mean, they've had some bluegill, but they're kind of like sunfish, or not really big. But it just seems like when I throw a mag draft, or I throw like a bigger swim bait, it's almost like a predatory just response. I think they just want to attack it just because it's like, oh, there's something that kind of matches that could intimidate me, so I'm going to go ahead and attack it and eat it if I can, and you know and go that route. I think that's the mentality, at least for most of the lakes here in Kentucky, outside of like Kentucky Lake. There's a few lakes that has some pretty big gizzard shad in it, like Green River Lake. Barren River Lake's got some big gizzard shad in it. So I mean, but there's a lot of smaller lakes that I've caught tons and tons of 18 to 20-inch fish off of mag draft that has no business that size of bait being in that lake.
So it could go either way, forage, or it's just something they see
Yeah.
a big meal that they've never seen before, maybe.
It's a drawing power, because I never threw anything over the 6-inch until this year. And when the Berkeley come out with the coal shads, I decided to get some 8-inch ones. And I don't know if y'all paid attention, but the first batch that come out, I was right on it.
Change it, yeah.
I ordered them, and then they said they were bad. Well, my
Mhm.
6-inch didn't run right, but my 8-inch seemed to run fine. And we had a championship on a lake. It was similar. I don't think there's gizzard shad in there. I think there's threadfin, and it's musky, walleye. It's kind of similar lake. But anyhow, I threw that 8-inch in practice, and I had like almost 30 fall. I think I counted 28 fallers. Just in practice, and I only had 4 of them actually bite, and like one of them I hooked, and then this lake ain't known for big fish. Like, it's known for solid fish, about the same as the other lake. They're kind of newer lakes that don't have a big population of bass in them, really. You just hope for a limit. But the drawing power of that 8-inch was just unreal. Well, I have a 6-inch mag draft, so I tied it on for the tournament the next day, and I never caught a fish on it. It was a different conditions. That's why I think the conditions are key, because I never even had a faller off the 6-inch the next day. But I remembered where a bunch of them was out of treetops and stuff, and like I caught them on other baits. They're great for having a faller and then coming back 10 minutes, 30 minutes later in the day and throwing a worm over there or something and catching it.
I've caught one fish on the 8-inch coal shad, but like every other cast with it, if I was around fish, they were following it. I mean, it's really good for pre-fishing, I think.
Yes.
It's probably the best pre-fishing bait you can have.
I
Maybe even take
agree
the hook off
100%.
one.
I think it has way more action than the mag draft, me personally.
So speaking of action, I haven't bought any of the coal shads yet. I've been kind of holding out, but there's one swim bait that's been kind of pretty popular with like the smaller ones, but they make big ones called cast fishing. It's the Prodigy. Well, they have a 6 and 8-inch version, and so like this right here, that's the 8-inch version. But dude, this like tail is gigantic.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like
On top of that, yeah. On top of that, by this fin, they have glass beads in here, so when it goes back and forth, it makes sound when it goes back and forth. So like it's just something completely different other than the mag draft or the coal shad. Like it makes noise, whenever you need to. So like I can throw this and pretty stained water and probably still get a pretty good reaction just based off the noise if I really wanted to. But those
And
are the
all-
ones that I've.
And are
What's
all
up?
you guys using beast hooks on all these?
I tried the beast hooks, and like I'm sure they got like a 6/0 and an 8/0. And for the 6-inch mag draft freestyle, I like the 7/0 hook better. I've used the VMC, the spinner broke on 2 of them, and then so I bought a bunch of Trocars. I really like the Trocar.
I think
So
I'm
I
throwing
like.
the Trocar, and I haven't caught a lot of fish on it, but I mean, it seems to do okay.
It's durable. It doesn't the VMC worked. I think that's what I won that one tournament with, but the spinner come off from it.
See, I'm not a fan of that cutter style point. I that's why I like the beast hook a lot because it just has that spear point on it. Other than the beast hook, the BKK Titan hook's really good. You can actually take the weight off of the hook and either put that on there and run it deep, or take it off and run shallow with no weight on it. So it's pretty good. And instead of the hook kind of like curving up, it kind of has more of a sharp square kind of right here on the bottom, and it's a little bit easier to thread on and stay flush with the swim bait.
Seems like keep hearing more and more about BKK. Like they on
Dude,
that. It's the new one, the Hangover from 6 Cents. The treble hook that Milliken put on there is the BKK Fang. It seems like BKK is taking over.
I actually switch the mag draft hooks out, after a little bit, or if I feel like that I'm just don't have a lot of confidence, but I'll do the Spear Point 21, the BKK, in like a size 2, and I'll use that. They're very similar. They're very similar to owner hooks. They've got that slick coating on them. But I tell you what, I started using their EWG hooks just for Texas rigs, and I remember having one hook that stayed sharp for months and just didn't dull, didn't bend over, and or the point didn't bend over, nothing. And I mean, I laid it into some wood really hard on some hook sets, and it just kept trucking along. So like I've been really impressed with all of their hooks.
Actually, I'm sponsored by Folks Custom Cranks,
Mm-hmm.
and they got some of their own lures now. Actually, that he gets made overseas, and that's all he uses now is BKK. A lot
They're
of
really
people
good.
switching to them.
So, but besides like obvious grass, there's top hook ones and there's bottom hook ones. I mean, there's freestyle and then there's, the other mag draft, but there's a lot of them that have bottom hooks and have top hooks. When are you going to one or the other?
I mean, I fish a top hook anytime I'm fishing on the bottom. So like the burrito, if I'm gonna fish deep, I'm gonna fish top hook, jig hook, and just throw it out there. I don't necessarily drag it. I more like bump bottom like a crankbait where you know, feel it, speed up a little bit, feel it again, speed up a little bit, kind of get that pop off the bottom action. But bottom hook, I'm, like just the regular mag draft, I'm going to take it and I'm going to throw it over the fish. And like they were saying, either throw it, probably the best way to relate this to other types of fishing is spinnerbait. And then what I do a lot is, say you're catching them really good on like a Chapo or a spook, and that bite kind of dies. If you'll take this and run it like right where you can just barely see it down in the water, they'll still eat this, even though they're stopped eating the topwater bait. They'll come up and hit this, 18 inches, 2 feet deep, 3 feet deep, where you were getting a good topwater bite. They'll come in and they'll really whack it.
And another reason I like the freestyle is I skip it a lot, and I can skip it. They skip really good, and I've had the mag draft, the actual magnet come out, and
Yeah.
and a lot of times when you're throwing it in tight cover like that, you'll get a hook. You get hooked up. Freestyle seems to be less It's more snag resistant on the brush. I throw it around and stuff.
Yeah, so I
So
Yeah.
I think that's a whole lot of it. If you think about it, you know, you got a bigger bait than normal, and a fish is hiding over here in the shade or next to a log, and all of a sudden he's got to eat it or it's going to be gone. And I mean, it's just, you know, you don't have
I
time
think
to think about it.
this was a Chris Zaldane mod when he was with Mega Bass that I take and bend out one of my
Bend it
hook
out.
points on
Yeah.
the
Kyler
I
too.
regular
do the
mag draft,
same thing. I was just about to talk about that.
and it really helps. Also, if you'll put a dot of super glue on the magnet, that helps them out a lot too. I've
Yeah.
lost several magnets. I've took harnesses that came out of baits and salvage magnets and popped them back in baits that were good. And if you want to keep them going, you need a lot of super glue. That's the main, or mended if you've got mended. But I use super glue. So
And then dock post. I've noticed with the regular mag draft, if you hit a dock post with it, the internal harness will bend, and then the
yeah,
bait's kind of shot. You know.
yeah. So the tournament I won this past season on Smith, that was the harness from the bait, and I was pretty sure I had the tournament won, and I had a buddy with me that I think he only had 2 fish. And like I've been wearing them out. I probably caught 20 on a swim bait at that point. And I gave him a swim bait when I started catching them, but it was like an IU color, and I was catching him on albino. So I was like, I think I have the tournament won. I've got the lake's not known for big fish, and I've got 3 18s and a 19 3/4, or an 18.5 and 2 18s and 19 3/4. I know I culled an 18 by the end of the day, or culled 2 18s by the end of the day. So I hand him the rod, reel, everything. I'm like, I'm going to upload my fish. And I come back, and as he's boat flipping a fish with it, the fish slings the body off the harness. So that's what I have left of the bait I won. Pretty decent sized local tournament. It was like 75 kayaks for local. So
Yeah, I appreciate you didn't sign up for the AKAT that day.
you probably won more money that day than I did,
Yeah,
which is
that's tough.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
AKAT was like a top up on top of that tournament. And I got like third in that tournament. He beat me, but luckily I won the AKAT part.
Yeah, it was a fun day though. I mean, I wish I had got in that. And I think Chris Marks also, Chris Marks and David Mayfield, but Chris Marks specifically, he got like fifth or sixth or something. But on the ACAT side with what he had, he would have been in like second or third.
Yeah.
And me and him specifically the night before said, I'm not paying an extra 100 or 110 to fish Smith. And we both would have been the money. I mean, it was kind of funny that we both said that out loud the night before, and then it cost us both. I know it cost. I mean, you won like what, $1,200 that day. So
Yeah, it was a good day. And
yeah,
we're having that event. It's a kind of it's 3 or 4 clubs all having one event together, and then the AKAT. Well, they're not doing that one this year. I don't think AKAT is not in on that one, but it's a bunch of clubs all in one. So if you've never fished Smith Lake, it's beautiful. It's the right time of the year. You know I think this year it's 27th.
yeah, April 27th.
Great camping. Yeah, I mean Smith Lake is beautiful, and it's before all the recreational people get out there and destroy the lake. So anybody in Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee that wants to come down, that's an event to fish. Like Josh Smith came out. There was a bunch of people that came out for that one. It was a really good
Yeah,
event.
yeah. We pulled some guys from a couple states over for that one. So
Yeah. So what colors? What colors y'all throwing? Mark just albino. That's it.
I mean, like
so
I got a 5 inch here. He's 5 inches deadly in the river. I mean, they're probably better to throw in the river than the 6. You know, for numbers wise. But I've always got that 6 tied on. I threw this a little bit and caught a few. But one of my
Yeah,
local friends was asking me and this is actually a mag slow. It's got the feather.
yeah.
I
You
don't know
have
if
a
you can
feather
see
on
it.
there?
Well, yeah, that's the way it comes.
Oh, I thought you hit a
Yeah.
bird.
Nah, I've had a few birds. But anyhow, that being look at the size comparison between a 6-inch and a 5. They're like,
Yeah.
it's huge difference. I mean, it says 1 inch, but by the width of them and everything else, it's a bunch.
So I like the albino, the MB gizzard if the water's clear, or I want to say this one is whiteback shad. I've caught a lot of fish on it. I've caught a lot of fish on the MB gizzard. I've caught them TVA. I've caught them Smith. I've caught them Coosa chain. It works good. And then for a smaller bait, a little different look, Big Bite Baits, B5 line through. It's kind of a cheaper bait. Caught fish on Smith with it. Caught fish on Wheeler with it. It works pretty good too if they're eating a little smaller bait, or if you're around fish that are maybe just a little smaller fish. But typically it's going to be something shad colored, or maybe a little bit of clear if the water's really clear, more opaque, shiny if we're dealing with some muddier water. So
I know the tactical bassing guys, they were talking up that big bite bait one too.
I mean, it works really good. I like it because when you hook them, it slides up the line, and they're not thrashing around with an ounce and a quarter or whatever stuck to the side of their head. They don't throw it as bad. So
Yeah.
And color choice, like I've got a ton of the albino, but what I like to do with some of my albinos is I saw this Chris Aldane did it was take a chartreuse paint marker and just do a line down the side. That I've caught some bigger fish after doing that. It seemed like a few times than just having the regular albino, because there's so many people throwing just the regular albino if you give them something just a shade off. And then my other go-to is the brownie, just a very natural color. I like to throw that one a ton, especially on the Tennessee River. I like to throw that one a ton. This year I've been kind of experimenting with a few different colors. I know that Cast and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Big Bass Dreams, but Cast and Big Bass Dreams came out with it's just a bait fish color, but it's got like a green hinge to it, blue and pink. Like it's a really good, let me get my finger out of the way. It's a really good color that I've been catching a lot of fish on. But that's the 6-inch version, and I like this one. And then the 4.1 is really, really good. And then this year, I finally got my hands on some of those. I think it's the Working Class Zeros. This one's a darker color, but it's still like
Citizen?
that.
Is that what it is?
I'm sorry. Yeah, the
Citizen?
Citizen. Yeah. The Working Class Zero Citizen. It's like made specifically for the beast hook. It's got like this little insert where the weight actually sits into, and then the top like cups in, so it nestles that hook really, really well. So I've been dealing with that color, and I've caught a few big ones on that one down at Gunnersville in the spring. That one's a really good one.
Is that a
Other than
7-inch?
that, yeah, this is the 7-inch Working Class Zero one. But like it's completely hollow inside right here. Like there's no meat to it at all until you get like back here. So like that hook goes through really, really easily. Like it's
And
just
that's an
sliding
8-aught
down.
hook, right?
Yeah, I think it's the 8-aught.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's the 8-aught.
It's odd that the hookup's good on that, where that bait's so tall, ain't it? I mean, it makes
Yeah.
you think.
Well, I think it has to do with the recessed where the weight goes in. It actually sits up almost into the swim bait a little bit. So it actually kind of sits that weight or that whole hook a little differently. So when you do set the hook and they go to crush it, like it's a super soft, malleable thing. So when they slam on it, you just kind of really lean into it. You're good to go. I've never had an issue.
It looks so much more like a shadow. I mean,
yeah, dude, they make some really good ones. Now these are expensive. I forget how much I paid, but they only come in like a 2-pack, but they last quite a bit. The Optimum Boom Boom, if I want to do like a top hook one, the Boom Boom ones are really good, like little 5-inch ones. I like those. I haven't messed around with the Buka stuff yet. I haven't had the funds to justify spending some money on those yet. So I've been kind of in the glide bait, game this past year. But that's really it. Like just the shad colors. If I'm going to do any bluegill stuff, it's going to be on a glide bait instead of a soft swim bait.
So I got a question for you guys, and maybe I should have asked this earlier. What would you guys recommend to someone who's listening today because they're interested in the swim bait game, but they're not in the swim bait game? So like the beginner person, what would their first or second swim bait be? We've talked about the rods, we talked about the line, we talked about some of the terminal tackle, but what would be like a beginner's swim bait that doesn't break the bank? Because obviously we can spend quite a bit on these things.
So I'd say either the B5 in a 5 or, well, they make a B6, it's a 6-inch. And I think this is like, well, I mean, that one's still got a sticker on it that says $6.99. I think the 6-inch is like $1 more, or get a coal shad. They're the cheapest, and they seem to catch fish. And just go out, throw it where you throw a spinner bait. Throw it, if you've got a creek or a river that's got any kind of bigger bait, that's where I've had success. I've caught spots, I've caught smallmouth on them. They work good moving water. They work good, post spawn. They work good in the fall. The biggest frustration that I've had is like it took me probably a year to figure out when and where to throw them, and that's what you got to kind of shortcut if you can when you're starting out. And once you catch that first one, or once you see a big shadow come up behind it and then drop away as you're reeling up to the boat, it's like, okay, yeah, I can stick with this. Yeah.
And I guess when I see the fish more is where I stand up and fish all the time. So that probably helps me see the fish coming and stuff. I mean, like a lot of people, I mean, I know some people never stand in their kayaks, they're always sitting down and stuff, where I don't know how you could ever see anything. And I love just to see the fish and then throw them. Are you talking about price and stuff? The old Bass Pro XBX? You can see that.
Yeah, can you put that? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. I think they're like $5, but sometimes they're junk in a way. Like you might buy 4 of them and one of them run good, but hearsay is you can put them in a boiling water and stuff, and they'll actually get softer. And I think that's a lot of it. They're just made really cheap, and the material's
Take them
not
out,
the same.
hang them up straight, kind of like a fluke where you straighten them out. And I've heard that too. So.
Yeah, but I don't know how I think it was a different material they must have used when they first made that bait, because that was one of the hottest baits for a long time.
Yeah, it was.
And then they
that was
quit
like the
making
bait
it.
that. Yeah,
Steve Kennedy.
they started making it, and then they discontinued it, and then guys figured out what it was good for and started winning tournaments on it, and then you couldn't find them anymore.
Yeah, and that's what Milliken kind of said. They made the Babe afterwards. Somebody in Kentucky, I think, made it, didn't they?
Yeah,
I
the
don't
original
remember.
one, Takahiro won a tournament right out in front of the main boat harbor here
Wheeler.
on Wheeler, like 2007, I think.
The shoals, is that what it's called?
Flats.
The flats. That's
Decatur
Yep.
Flats.
Decatur Flats.
Man, anytime that someone wants to talk swim baits with me, I kind of, at least like cheaper swim baits, there's nothing. I think you can probably start out with the mag draft, and I think the mag draft's what, like $12. The 6-inch or the 5-inch is like $12.
Yeah, like 14 or something. Yeah.
Oh, they're 14. Yeah. Okay. So this is the way that I kind of can, when they look at, $14 for like the average beginner angler, and it's like, that is a lot of money. And I understand that, but I kind of equate it to a spinnerbait. You're going to get multiple uses out of it. And if I go and spend $10 on this spinnerbait right here, and I have to bend the hook, bend the wire back and to keep it running straight, it's not really any that much different than a mag draft. You can get multiple uses out of it, and so to me, I kind of like if I can catch a bigger fish or get a PB or a 5 pounder to a beginner is like massive. I mean, the first time you ever caught a 5 pound bass, like I'm sure everybody just crapped their pants and they were super excited. Like you were pumped up, ready to go. And so to me, that $10 to $15 range is completely worth it. Now the XBS swim baits, $5-6, nothing wrong with that. The cast ones, I think these cast ones, I think are around. You can get a 3-pack for I think around 15. So like that might be a little bit more budget friendly than a mag draft in my opinion, since like you only get one of those versus you can get 3 of these and get some hooks, and these might last you a little bit longer. Who knows? If you break one off, you don't have to go back to the store and get another one. So I guess anytime that you can get some in multiple in one pack, like that's always budget friendly. I've never really, sadly, I've never really been budget friendly because
you're a baller, man.
no, not at all, dude. I just
dude does apps and stuff. He's got all the money because he's smart.
Man, I'll be honest. Like if I go to Academy and stuff, and I'm like, man, I could either get 2 or 3 of those, or I can save up my money and try this new bait out that I really want to try. I'm going to save my money and just try that new bait. Like that's just kind of the way my mind works. And I've gotten really lucky this past year of being able to work with a couple of bait shops and doing digital marketing in exchange for baits. So instead of like me getting paid to do it, I'm like, well, just give me, some baits. And that's how I've been able to test products out. And it's been remarkable. And I've been extremely lucky being able to do that. So it's all luck. It's not because I'm flush with cash or anything like that by any means.
So all these baits, swim baits kind of have their range that they're, that that you can reel them at, that they don't blow out, or you're not going fast enough to kind of trigger the wobble like it's supposed to. How are you figuring out the right retrieve speed? Like if you're casting out a long way, I guess how would somebody new to this know that they're doing the correct retrieve for these baits?
Make a short cast out and watch your bait come back.
Yeah. Just kind of memorize that speed, and memorize, are you sinking it down? Are you letting it get down a couple feet? I mean, that's the biggest thing is just memorize the speed. And then some days, I mean, there's a range. Like it's not like there's just this exact little narrow window. There is a range on these baits. It's not a big range, but I mean, sometimes they want it faster. They want it up near the surface. Other times they want it down a little slower. And then the belly weighted baits, the beast hook baits, trocar hook baits, you can reel a little faster. Also, this is the Bass Mafia Dangerous. You can reel it a little bit faster. Coal Shed, I feel like you can reel it a little bit faster. Mag Draft of those 3 is the slowest. The B5 you can reel, the little B5 you can reel a little bit faster too.
Okay. How many baits are y'all carrying with you? And I think that seems like a problem too. Like for swim baits, if you get into it, it's like you have to have all these with you because this one goes a little faster. This one sinks a little, goes down lower. This one's got a top hook. This one's got a bottom hook. All these different colors. How the hell do you know what to bring with you?
So every single tournament I have, and it really doesn't matter where I go, I have one of those fat 3700s. It's like a double 3700 that has all the swim baits that you can jam in there in it. And then typically, depending on like if I think I'll probably have one tied on. And then one of the last tournaments I fished, I think I had 2 that were like hung off the tackle crate, just like the hooks dropped over the edge of the tackle crate. So if I got ready to switch, just reach back there, grab it, clip the line, tie a new one on, and go. So I learned my lesson that Smith Lake tournament that I was catching them on a mag draft. It was the only one I had of that color, and I only had one other mag draft, and it was in kind of a funky color, and it didn't really work down there. I ended up catching them on a burrito the rest of the day, never cold, but so I kind of learned my lesson. So like right now, I've got 2 albino ones that are partially chewed, and I think I've got 2 more in the garage that are brand new in the package, and then I've probably got half a dozen other colors. Just so I take a bunch of them. And I'll stash them in cubby holes in the kayak, and I take a lot of stuff with me. So
Yeah, you've got that Predator. You can't bring too many with you. Like
uh,
Mark's got a Titan. I know he fills that damn thing up.
yeah, I bring a lot of stuff with me. Even when I do creek trips, like even when I'm fishing in the shoalie, um, I'll bring the box full, and I'll have extras. Like I'll have multiples. I don't throw these a ton. Like honestly, the mag draft is not like it's not like a really big fish bait for me. Like I don't catch a lot of 5+ pounders on this bait. What I catch is if you go to a lake that has like a lot of small fish, like Smith. The other lake where I had a lot of success was Weiss on swim baits. It's taking 12, 13 pounds to win boat tournaments sometimes. You're not looking for a 5-pounder, you're looking for 3-pounders. If you can catch 3 to 5 3-pounders, or maybe throw a 4-pounder in there, you're doing really good. This is to kind of bypass the 15-inch fish, the 12-inch fish. That you throw your jig in there, you throw your spinnerbait in there, and the little one runs out and smacks it. This is just big enough to maybe scare a 12-inch spot away from biting it. So that's kind of my philosophy on it. I don't throw that particular bait for 5, 6, 7-pounders. I throw it in tournaments for good, solid 18, 19, maybe a 20 here and there kind of fish. But
Okay.
Dude, I also carry a ton. Like I've got a one of those big Bass Mafia bags full of mag drafts or other just kind of in packs like this of these 6-inch swim baits. And then I have a separate bag of 8-inch baits, 8+ inch soft baits. And then I've got a box that I keep all my big hard glide baits in. So like I carry 3 boxes, but like when I go to a Hobie event, I'll have multiples of all, but when in practice, I'm only carrying one with me on the boat during practice because like if I'm catching them, if I figure out that they're chewing on this albino one, then I can just set that down, figure out something like a backup plan or something. And even though as much as I want to continue catching them on this, if I break this one off or something like that, it forces me not to reach for another one to try to catch another fish. So I kind of try to hold back until tournament day to see what I really need to bring with me onto the boat and kind of go that route. So it's kind of a form of forceful self-control because I have so many swim baits that I always want to carry with me because I never know what situation I might put myself in and my need, this one or the brownie or maybe an MB gizzard. That slight color change for me is a big deal whenever I'm trying to choose. Like I don't try to go too crazy with colors. I have this like certain range of slightly different things, and that's the only thing that I choose between. I don't want to go with like a hot pink swim bait, even though I've seen people catch big fish on a hot pink swim bait. But I'm not going to be throwing anything like that. Just very natural colors for me. And it seems to be more consistent than throwing, those crazy colors, even though you might get one kicker off that crazy color. I'd rather have 5, like you said, 5, 18 to 19, maybe that 20 with the 6-inch mag draft. And usually if I know that they're chewing on this and I get a limit on the mag draft, after I get that limit, I'm definitely kicking it up to those 8 to 10 inch soft swim baits, because then I'm really wanting to try to scare everything away except for that 6+. Um, you know, I've always been one of those guys that tries to go after those double digits, and I'd love nothing more than to catch a double digit in the middle of a tournament and just like completely freak out and have a heart attack. Yeah, but I always want to put myself in that situation after I've caught a limit. So that's kind of
Yeah.
where I start off, do what I start off doing.
And honestly, a lot of times, like I'll catch a limit usually on something like topwater, and
Mhm.
then I go back and I just refish the same area with swim bait. I mean, because like I say,
Yeah.
it seems like when the topwater bite dies off for the day, the sun gets up, and I think those fish are sitting down there. If you're working a bait up close to the surface, they won't quite commit to that topwater, but they'll come up there and they'll just hammer swim bait.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
especially once you
I,
get a shade line, start throwing around shade lines and
I like those deep grass lines a lot, like especially with just a regular mag draft. Like you can sit there and go off that grass line, and then when it drops off, just literally dead stick it and just let it go down that edge. And I've had so many big fish doing that. This year I caught a 22 inch on cedar. Last year I caught a 22 on cedar. Chickamauga last year at the Hobie, I was catching them on a popper during a mayfly hatch, and I caught that 22.5. And I saw the bass start moving this way and started busting on bluegill and stuff. So I put the popper down, picked up one of these, and caught my 18.5 and another 19, throwing this back into that shallow when they were super active. So I mean, it's very situational, but I think that if you're just persistent and you stick with it, like you're going to catch fish, you're going to run into them.
Yeah.
The problem that I see that people have is like throwing a frog or a jerk bait. They'll sit there for about 10 minutes and they'll work a frog or they'll work a jerk bait, and then they get frustrated because they haven't caught that 5-pounder yet. And it's like, just trust me, just keep casting, keep doing what you're doing. You'll run into it, and then it clicks like this. It's like turning on a light switch. You know exactly what you need to do.
When you figure out what catches them doing, what you're doing when you catch them, make a note of it, because that's probably going to be repeatable. I mean, for me, it
Yeah.
has been. So,
And something we hadn't talked about that I do a lot is like a 5-inch hollow belly. I mean, for fish
yeah.
catching
yeah,
numbers, that the hollow belly is really hard to beat.
yeah,
And,
like a
and
true bass or something on a jig head. Or,
yeah, the true bass, I've done really well with it. I've done Berkeley hollow belly and original bass tricks. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
old
that's what I
enough
was
that
gonna
I
say. The
used to throw
bass trick.
original bass tricks.
They've
But
got a
we
new
had
owner
a
now, I thought.
yeah, they upped their game because they were really good when they first come out, and then they sold, and it got not so good. The
Yeah.
quality went down.
we had a shop here in town that was sponsoring one of our clubs that was giving away the true bass. They'd give us like a couple packs to give away in tournaments, and I got hooked on them, and I throw them all the time. I don't know how many A rigs I've lost that were full of true bass swim baits. I mean, they catch them.
They catch them really good, but they like them. They're made in China. It's so aggravating.
Yeah, yeah, and they're not the most durable thing in the world either.
Nah,
They tear it up pretty good.
but they do catch fish. They get collars and stuff. But that's something we hadn't talked about is actually put them on a jig head too, especially with Tennessee
Yeah,
River. And
I tell you, that's speaking of like tearing up really easy. Like I know for a fact that they catch a ton of fish, but I cannot stand Kitex. I know they catch a ton of fish, and people just slay them with it, but I cannot justify sitting there and making a cast and catching a 13-inch fish, and then I'm like, well, there goes my swim bait. Like it's done for, and I don't have any super glue.
so
It's so aggravating.
I lucked out like either last year or year before. I walked in our local academy, and they had the 5-inch easy shiner for like
yeah,
$3 a
I've done
pack,
well. Mm-hmm.
and I bought every single one they had on the shelf, and I think I still have a half a pack left or something from that. And I catch a ton of them on that 5-inch easy shiner. But I mean, almost don't feel like it's in the same class as a mag draft or something like that.
No,
It
it's
catches
not.
them good, but
It's different. It's something
yeah.
different, and I don't think a lot of people throw that.
I know I don't throw the bigger ones. That all the little swim baits I throw are 3 or 4 inches. I never throw the bigger 5 ones.
See, I don't even. I guess I'm weird on this. Like this is the only one. This is the only 5 inch. This B5 big bite is the only 5 inch that I consider like a bigger one. The other ones, the bodies are so small on them, and that one's rigged up for line through. The other ones, you're either putting them on a jig head or you're putting them on a, like a 4/0 hook, and it's not the,
Have
it's a
Have you tried
different.
the coffee straw trick?
Yeah, I've got, I don't know if it's this one. Yeah, so this one that's on this Bass Mafia that's on a beast hook or on that one might actually be a beast hook, but it's actually got a coffee straw on it too. So I take the beast hook off of it and rig it the other way, and yeah. And you want to tell everybody what the coffee straw trick is so they know
Yeah.
can
So,
if you can
oh,
see
you go
that in
ahead.
there. So you take a coffee straw. Typically, what I do is take a coffee straw, run it through the bait, and you bring it out in the slot in the bottom. And let me just take this one off the hook here. So you run it through the nose, if you can see that. Bring it out the bottom of the bait in the hook slot, and then you run your line through that. I typically put like a small tungsten weight, like an 1/8 ounce, and then I'll put a treble hook on it. So you take like a freestyle bait or like the Bass Mafia bait that's not pre-rigged, and you turn it into a line through, and it's pretty durable. I mean, I think it holds up better than just a lot of other ways you can rig them. But
You can
I
do a
feel like
top hook with that too.
smaller
Yes.
baits, but not these big ones.
yeah, I think the Hangover, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah, isn't it set up where you can do a top hook on it from the get go?
Yeah, it's
Treble on top.
it's top hook only, but it has like a ring on the bottom where you can also add a hook on the bottom.
And when I was running this one the other way with the line through, I actually had a loop of braid coming off the line up front and was running like a number 4 treble in the back, just top and bottom hook. I was trying to live scope them with it. I don't know about y'all. I haven't had much success live scoping stuff with swim baits. I mean, I've got bites and I've caught a few, but
Well, I
not.
just got Mega Live like 3 days ago, so I've been running blind on these tournaments the past couple of years.
I mean,
Me personally, I've noticed with me, I move around too much, and I can't get everything right. Like I find a fish, and I'm like, I'm on it, and then I make a cast, and I start to reel, and I done moved. Now I'm trying to move my transducer over to find it again. Well, then you stop cranking, and just a headache. I don't like that crap.
I hate to say it, like I've had live scope for almost 2 complete seasons. Uh, I don't know that I've caught a fish in a tournament that I cashed a check with live scope.
Same. I've had it for 2
And
years, and I haven't. I've seen
it,
fish, and I know they're on this side of the dock or something, but I've
yeah,
not seen the fish eat it. Making a cast and making him react or whatever. I
I
see
take
him,
it
and then
back.
I know what to do. I make a cast over there.
One tournament on Gunnersville, I cashed a check. I was throwing a trap up by a dock in some grass. I saw a fish come out of the grass and swipe at the bait. And I stopped and made like 15 more casts and caught a limit off that corner of the dock and ended up in the money. And that's the only time. And I was using live scope in 5 foot of water. So, you know, not to get that whole started, but like it's not magic. It doesn't put the fish in a boat for you.
No, it's
Uh,
not magic.
Kurt's got 2 live scope transducers. He catches them all that way.
They just
Good
jump
for
in
you.
his boat.
You want to buy a third?
Maybe in the spring for my other boat.
Yeah, I've got to where I don't even take it out a lot of times. It's kind of in my way.
I mean, I used it crappie fishing for the first time this past weekend, where I went out and really got, tried to get on them, and I caught 6 or 7 really quickly. And I normally don't catch that many. I mean, I caught 6 or 7 slabs. Like, I had one fish that was 10.5 inches, and the rest of them were between 12 and 15.5 inches.
And
So
I
crappie
think what you
fishing,
just
like, it's
said
awesome.
is where it shines, man. It's on
Yeah,
schooling fish.
yeah,
Yeah. Not to get too far off topic.
yeah. I was hoping to hear somebody was targeting them with a swim bait. That's what I want to try to do this next year.
I think you
Try
need really
Yeah.
glide bait.
I've tried both. I mean, it's
Not that I have any experience out of the kayak, but my father-in-law's got live scope, and I told him to sit in the back of the boat for a couple hours, and I sat there and messed with it with glide bait. Like, I feel like I could at least control my bait a lot better than like a crankbait, or let it pause, see if I can have some fish attract. And I did. I didn't get any bites, but like I saw fish come up, and so like then you can kind of determine how active they are with the glide bait. Just go from there. But again, that's I haven't used it in a kayak. It may be a totally different scenario.
it can be a little bit challenging using it. That's my experience with like a line through, putting a little extra weight on it, rolling it over brush piles and stuff in like 15, 16 foot of water, and just have them come out and swim behind it for 20 feet, and then turn away when I start reeling it up to the boat and the bait starts, coming up. I
Have
haven't
you
had much
tried like
success
changing
with
your
it.
retrieve up on when they come out? Like if you
Yeah,
want them to get them to bite.
some I've tried like popping the reel a couple times, speeding it up. I've got a few bites, but it's really hit and miss. I've got better reactions with the glide, but still not. I know there's guys doing it. I haven't figured out the secret to it. I was hoping I'd get some help on that, but
But we'll have to have a live scope show here before long, so Kurt can tell us all of his secrets.
get Chuck back on.
Yeah, Chuck too. All right. Well, it's been over an hour. We don't want to keep y'all any longer. It's getting late. Want to give y'all a chance to shout out any sponsors, tell everybody where they can find you online. Kyler, we'll start with you, man.
Yeah, man. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, K-Storm Fishing. I want to give a shout out to one of my bigger partners, Tackle Trap. They've hooked me up with a bunch of really nice Daiwa Zillions, Daiwa Tatulas. I've got two new Daiwa Tatulas that they just came out with. They've hooked me up with a bunch of Megabass Destroyer rods, Orochi rods, and dude, like I would never pay money for a $500 rod. Having said that, now that I've put those $500 rods in my hand, I don't know if I can go back. Like,
Those Zillions are absurd too.
dude, like,
That's my
those.
favorite reel. Yeah.
As good as the Zillion is, I literally just got a Daiwa with Steez like a month ago, and
I don't want to know.
oh, buddy,
I
it
believe
is almost too smooth. If that's even a thing, it's almost too smooth. But like, a huge shout out to Tackle Trap. They have a ton of Daiwa, Shimano, G Loomis. They have everything that you need. They have a ton of Berkeley stuff if you're into Berkeley. But they're going to start getting into more niche like OSP, Gancraft. They're going to start getting into that realm starting next year, and I can't wait to see what they come out with. Another one, Little Miami Outfitters. Brandon Palmer, he's the one who made this custom rod right here for me. I call this one the Kaiju. It's just because I throw really, really big, strange monster baits on it, and it's probably one of my favorite rods out there. More favorite than any of the Destroyer rods, and he builds some great rods out there, and he'll do anything that you want him to do. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys are ever in Kentucky, check out Bluegrass Kayak Anglers. I'm the tournament director there. We just came out with our schedule. There's no membership. It's a $75 entry fee. It's 100% payout. We don't keep any of the money. We're nonprofit, but we decided to not do any membership. So anybody from any state can come in and fish. And let me tell you, it's a hell of a schedule. We start off with Cedar Creek Lake in March. Cedar Creek Lake is a 20-inch minimum keeper lake. It's 800 and something acres, bunch of standing timber, bunch of grass in it. Trust me, that'll be a monster catching event. And then we end the season on Cedar Creek Lake in October. Like it's just going to be, we have all of our dates are specifically scheduled to fish all of the Kentucky lakes at the best time. Dale Hollow, Cumberland, all the best time in the spring where you can catch giant smallmouth down there. Going into the summer, Green River Lake, all of those lakes it's just so much fun. So if you guys are ever decide you want to fish in Kentucky to see how it is, dude, just hit me up. You guys can even crash in my house. I don't care. You know, whatever we got to do to get more people up here, I'm all about it. So, but yeah, that's it. I appreciate it.
Heck yeah. Mark, how about you, man?
I vowed for Cedar Creek Lake. I fished it about 5 or 6 years ago. That place was pretty awesome.
Dude,
But,
I've caught 2 over 22 in the past 2 years in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, I can't remember. The numbers was pretty insane because I think it was a summer tournament. Kurt probably fished it. It's like 2018 KBF.
Oh
But,
yeah, the KBF one.
Yeah,
That was
it
a
was
good one. There's a lot of big fish caught there in that tournament.
because I think I had 80 some inches and I was like 15th or something. I don't know.
Wow.
It's crazy. But I really like that place. I actually told our DNR people about it when I got back. I was like, man, they got this lake out there that's, you know, for trophy bass. Why don't y'all build something over here with trophy bass?
Dude,
You know,
it's crazy. You can't. There's not any. No one can have any lakefront property on around the lake. Like you have to
That's
be
awesome.
hundreds of yards away from the lake to have a house or anything like that. And with a 20-inch minimum keeper, like no one takes any fish out of that lake because we just it's so great.
yeah, we just stocked muskies. Just eat all our bass.
Hey, I wanna
Usually in
fish,
here, if we fish a local tournament, you gotta get a limit. That's the key. But as far as shout outs, I think Fishing Online, and they supported me for quite a while. Dakota Lithium batteries and Folks Custom cranks and stuff. Like I was talking about them BKK hooks. Also, Black Label Balsa. That's what they actually use. Cliff Pace. That's what he actually used on his hooks now too.
The Spear S21s, like those are.
They got
money.
some kind of connection with the owner. I'm pretty sure. I was told they got some kind of. They liable to all be
sure
coming
that
out of the
they
same
do.
factory.
Well, they started out with saltwater. They were a saltwater hook company for the longest time, and then they moved over to the States. And they've got flipping hooks, drop shot hooks, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, but the coating hooks, any brand that's got the coatings on them is better deals. That's all.
Spencer, how about you, man?
Music City Outdoors in Nashville, Tennessee. They've got pretty much anything you need kayak wise. My little bait company, Big River Bait Company,
Heck yeah.
jigs, spinnerbaits. I'm playing with buying swim bait planks and painting them. Not sure if I want to sell those yet, but I'm playing with it. Coleman Kayak Anglers. I'm a tournament director. Dan was talking about it earlier. We're going to have a pretty decent sized tournament April 27th on Smith Lake. Probably one of the best, if not the best, spotted bass lake, maybe in the world. I mean, it had the world record until they shipped a bunch of fish to California from that lake. So it's definitely a good Alabama bass, spotted bass lake. But yeah, North Alabama Kayak Anglers, fish with those guys too. Big shout out to Nate and those guys. That's about it.
Cool. Well, thank y'all. We appreciate y'all and everybody that listens. Happy New Year, and we'll see you all in 2024. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Later.
Later.